Yes.
Great. We'll go ahead and get started then. Welcome everybody to the Planning and Sustainability Subcommittee meeting. It's Tuesday, December 21st, 4 p.m. And this is a hybrid meeting where we have some staff and visitors at the Cloverdale Regional Library. And it looks like Councilmember Cruz and I are zooming in. So we want to go ahead and do an informal roll call.
Chair Bagley.
Well, I'm here.
Member Cruz.
Present.
Marti's here.
Great. And you guys are a little muffled, so be sure to
Hello.
don't be afraid of that microphone. There we go.
Is it better if we talk right into it? Okay.
There you go.
City Manager Kelly. Here. And I am here too, Assistant City Manager Kevin Thompson.
Great. Yeah, you'll be a little bit muffled. It sounds like, at least just to my ears, and so we'll just ask you to speak up and use the mic.
Yes.
So let us know. We'll do our best.
Great, thank you. All right, so we'll the meeting has been called to order. Any questions or discussion about communications?
We did receive one additional communication from Kristen Sullivan regarding climate change, and we'll make sure that gets put into the record.
Okay.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I noticed that we'll be touching on several of her concerns during different sections of the agenda today. So it's a great meeting if she does log in or watch this at a later time. So at this point, we'll go ahead and open the meeting for a public comment. Members of the public may comment on any item not on the agenda today. Please limit comments to 3 minutes. Members of the public may comment on items on the agenda. When the subcommittee considers that item to make a public comment, use the raise hand icon on your smart device or desktop computer, or dial *9 if you are using your telephone. Do we have any hands raised or?
Yes, we do.
Great.
Erika Weaver, I'm going to allow you to talk, and you can unmute yourself, and there you go.
All right, thank you. I'm Erika Weaver. I'm the Executive Director of the Sonoma County Bicycle Coalition, and I'm kind of embarrassed to admit that this may be the first meeting of something up in Cloverdale that I've attended, even if virtually. Trying to cover the whole county is a challenge. One of the things we're going to be working on in 2022, though, to help handle that is that we are creating local teams in different places around the county. So far, I have one in Petaluma, one in Halesburg, and one in Sonoma that are kind of in the formative stages. And so hoping to get some residents up there together to have sort of easier networking to make sure that all of the biking safety needs are taken care of all around the county. One other thing I just want to mention, it's separate from my work as a bike coalition, but as a person with some hearing loss, Mr. Thompson, I could not hear anything you say with the mic, with the mask and over the mic. And so if you could enable the closed captioning, that would help folks like me, and it would actually probably be good to do that for any of your public Zoom meetings, is to enable the captioning, because then someone with hearing loss doesn't have to ask for that accommodation. It's just already there. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Erika. That's a great tip and great feedback.
Yes, I am looking to see how to enable that, and I don't see that.
And as I think I'm getting older. I think I'm a hearing person still, but it's very difficult to hear. So
that setting is often in your global settings for your account. You have to have it enabled there before you can enable it in an individual meeting.
Okay, we'll make sure that happens in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'm sure Jill's taking note of all of this too. So thank you, Erika. I appreciate that. And just to want to let you know too that I got to participate with several people in Cloverdale at the Bicycle Coalition's bike rodeo this past summer, which was very successful. It was a really great event for families and kids this past summer, so that was just really great. And then I know Erika from our work on SMART and Sonoma County Transportation Authority as well. You have a lot of input on making our roads more bike friendly, more pedestrian friendly. And actually today, later on in the agenda, if you feel like hanging out, we are going to be talking about the development of a citywide complete streets plan. So you may want to just hang out or give us your comments if you like. So, and of course, anyone else is welcome to do that too. So do we have any other public comments at this time?
We do not.
Great, thank you. All right, well, with that, we will move on to the approval of minutes. Councilmember Cruz, did you have a chance to take a look at the minutes from August 17th and the 19th and October 19th? Great.
Chair, we don't have the August 17th minutes included. We're still working on those. That was Irene's last day. So we only have the October 19th, but we're going to go back and look at the video and get the minutes for the 17th.
Oh, great. Okay. Great. And so is there a motion to approve the October 19th minutes?
I move to approve.
Okay, I'll second that. All those in favor? Aye. Marta, I'm assuming that that's an aye vote.
Yes, I am sorry.
Great.
Thank you.
I believe the motion passes. So with
Yes.
that, we'll move on to current items for discussion. And it looks like we're going to get a presentation and update on the City of Cloverdale's PG&E turnkey program. And we have a guest speaker. This is an in-person person. This is exciting.
Yeah, is it going to be Robert or Brooklyn can share a screen to get the presentation? Could one of you guys pull up the presentation?
Could you repeat that?
I'm asking either Brooklyn or
Okay.
Robert to pull up the presentation.
Okay,
Starting.
moving Brooklyn over right now. Okay.
Well, while we're getting the presentation up, I can just give just a real quick background. We've been working with PG&E's turnkey program for about the last year, really looking at all our facilities, looking for opportunities to become more efficient. And to this point, we've done walkthroughs on all the facilities, and they're getting really close to presenting some potential projects for us. But then we learned about the possibility of including electronic water meters in this as even a larger scope. And so at this point, we need a couple more months for them to run that through their consultant. And we've been working with Darren and others to understand our water meters. So we probably would have been a little farther, but we feel like this is a really great opportunity to at least see what they can come up with for water meters. But with that, I don't know, Brooklyn, if you can hear me, I don't know if you can pull up the presentation.
I am here and I will share my screen. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, give me one moment. Is everyone able to see that?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Hi, well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is David Carter with PG&E, and I think our goal today was just to give you guys an update. We met, I believe, with this committee earlier this year as we were sort of kicking off this project. We had targeted being sort of done with our evaluation at the end of the year, but as Kevin said, with the addition of the water meter measure, it's just added a little bit of time, but we'd like to give you just sort of a little update. I'm going to try to do this fairly fast because I think you guys are mostly familiar with this, and we'll go from there. So Brooklyn, next slide, please. So when we started this process, we were kind of ahead of the preliminary. We're now in the investment grade assessment. This is really where we do, the level of design work to get to a fixed scope with a turnkey project price and savings. So we're moving right along on that. We're very close, and as indicated, it's really the water measures that are sort of hanging out there. Next slide. So we've evaluated a number of different conditions and looking at all the buildings. and I think you guys have seen this slide probably a number of times in the previous presentations, but our goal here is really to, number one, help the city reduce its energy use, both saving dollars as well as addressing and then supporting your climate action plans, as well as sort of dealing with environmental impacts with respect to the facilities themselves, whether it's air quality, comfort, and what have you. So I think we've made some great progress on there, and I think our measures will help deliver on all of those. Brooklyn? When we look at the utilities, we have, through our evaluation, looking at basically a 67% reduction in the energy use. So, moving from essentially $360,000 a year for your utility costs down to about 120. So that's a significant, significant amount of savings. Next slide, please. This will be accomplished through a number of different things that we've been looking at. So, replacement of lighting, both interior and exterior. We've also looked at a handful of city-owned streetlights and looking to upgrade those to LED. There's a number of different heating, air conditioning units that are part of a number of different facilities that are in conditions that need to be replaced. So this will be focused, the HVAC replacement will focus on those particular items. We're also looking at the addition of solar voltaics and kind of integrating with your storage program that you're currently working on with Tesla to maximize sort of the generation of power. And then there's the wastewater treatment plant, a couple of system upgrades there to be more efficient, as well as the evaluation of putting a couple of EV charging stations throughout the city. So we've done the work on most of that, and I think there's a handful of things I think we're still waiting for on EV, but everything else I think we've pretty much evaluated. Next slide. The one that's still in progress is the citywide water meter upgrade. And I think the key thing here is that we're in the process of testing a sample of the meters to determine, based on their age, whether they're measuring accurately, whether the water that's flowing through them or purported to flow through them is actually being measured at the use, measured through the use. And the idea here is this will help us understand where we're seeing water loss. And essentially that translates to revenue loss for the city. So in order to make that determination, we need to sample a number of meters. We're in the process of getting those new meters ordered so we can swap them out. We're anticipating that this will take probably 8 to 13 weeks to complete. So the thought here is that by the end of Q1, we should have everything pretty much buttoned up and be able to come back to City Council, this potential subcommittee first, to be able to put the full project in front of everybody. Next slide. The project does make sense in looking at the amount of savings and what the potential project looks like. And we'll continue to evaluate this. The water measure actually will be a positive influence on everything. So that's one of the reasons why we're looking to bring it all together. Next slide. So I think I've kind of said this is we'll finalize the water meter work. That will help us bring the finalized IGA into place. We'll do some game boarding with various projects, and from there, be able to bring that project to council. And the goal would be to, ultimately look to implement the project. I think that's the last slide. Are there any questions?
Any questions, Councilmember Cruz? Yeah, the great presentation. Thanks so much for bringing that to us. Can you go back to that slide that has the table yeah, that was just mind-bogglingly amazing. And I think that this program and staff are showing that this really moves the needle on our greenhouse gas emission reduction goals, and how that's tied to our financial goals as well. It's just very impressive. I think that, did I get that right, that the utility costs per year are looking to go from 361,000 to about 118,000?
That's correct.
Yeah. I think that just has a huge impact on a budget in a city the size of Cloverdale. It really does. It's the difference between being able to do projects or take that utility money and invest it back into our infrastructure for the future. It's just has a great deal of possibility. And again, it's just that, but 1,391 tons of GHG out, eliminating 1,391 tons of greenhouse gas. That's something that at Sonoma Clean Power, our board is always pushing for, is being able to, show the number. What will the investment in this change, or what gives us the most bang for our buck to actually move the needle on greenhouse gas reduction goals? And I think that this really, it's hard numbers that you can't really argue with. So I really appreciate how you presented the data and the content of the data. So, good job, staff, on bringing this forward and getting it moving. And the only other comment I'd have for David and Kevin, since I've kind of got them both in the same room, is that I would love to take this data that is going to be presented to the entire council and just make sure, which actually you guys usually do a pretty good job of this, but really tie it into the council's stated goals. And if you could talk a little bit about the implications on the budget and being able to reinvest these dollars into our aging infrastructure, I think that would be very helpful for the entire council to be aware of, and also for the community to be aware of. So just kind of keep that in mind when you bring that back. So those are my comments. And I'm wondering, could we go ahead and are there any hands raised in the public, or is there any public comment at this time? Oh, you're on mute, but I think you said no.
I did say no. I'm
There
sorry.
we go. Hey, I'm getting kind of good at this. So.
Yes, you are.
Okay, so with that, are there any other comments from subcommittee or staff or PG&E?
Nope.
No. Okay, great. Somebody
Thank
wants
you
to get
guys for
to.
your time today, and I think we'll take your notes there and make sure that as we get to the final presentation, we will help tie everything back to, financial, environmental, political, make sure it's all covered.
Yeah, this is looking to be thanks for bringing these resources to our community, and this is looking to be it's not just one project, it's a series of projects. So yeah, we really appreciate it.
You bet. I wish everybody a happy holiday.
You too. And it sounds like you need to get to a holiday party probably, so we'll let you go. Great, thanks so much. All right, so that is item 5A, and did we say that it's 5B we're on our own, Kevin?
We are, I was hoping, Yvonne, if you
Yes.
share your screen, or somebody share.
I will.
Okay.
I got it.
Okay.
Great, thanks. So we'll move on to 5B, Baumgartner Draft Park Conceptual Plan.
Yes, Chair,
Can you guys see that okay? Do I need to blow it up some?
if you could blow it up.
If you could blow it up, that would be
Okay.
great. It was tiny on mine too.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
What a 5B2, please, next page.
I think it's benches and trash cans, so.
Yeah, next one.
The next one with the
Oh, the
map.
next one? Okay. Let's see. This one?
Yep.
The layout, yeah, that one really, yeah.
I might have
And
to shrink that back.
I gotta say, this file was not doing well on my iPad at all.
Yeah.
No, it's my iPad.
I'm using my two screens right now, and I should have done that to read it. It's like, it reads a lot better now.
Yvonne,
Yes.
if you can hit the
Oh,
full screen, it'll enable the.
okay.
You won't see the pull down menu on the left.
Let's see.
But it's open in a browser,
Okay, hold on. Here we go.
right next to right next to the plus.
To the right of the plus, I think.
To the right of the plus.
Yeah, where it says 100% plus or minus at the top.
Oh, right here.
Right next to it. To the right.
The one right to the,
You need me to make it smaller? What? I didn't hear what you said. I'm sorry.
To the right of the plus. Yep.
the right of the plus, there's just a box button.
Are you talking about the box with the up and down arrow?
Yeah.
It expands it. Yeah, it's like it expands. There, you were just on it. You
Real-
expand.
this
Yeah,
here?
there. No, to the right.
Okay,
That's the one.
there we go.
you So
To
click on
page.
that.
Okay. Oof.
Well, let's try that again.
Yeah. Let's redo that.
Yeah.
Go
Oh, no,
ahead.
that's change orientation. Yeah,
Okay.
I do that all the time.
Okay. How's that? So it's let me fix it though. It's upside down. Okay. Still upside down. Hold on. And one more time.
Actually, that's pretty good.
Yeah,
Okay.
that'll work.
It's not budging now.
That's fine, Yvonne.
Okay.
There
we
you
go.
Yeah, there we
Yeah.
go. Yeah, because then it expands it so you can actually see it. Yeah, I annotate did not work with this file. It just hated it. And I had to go to Adobe Acrobat like this to
Wow.
be able to even see the map. So
Yeah.
there we go. Okay, are we all set? Hit it, Kevin.
Okay, Madam Chair, we looked at this, I think in August or October, where they had a conceptual drawing. We submitted the comments back to them, which related to moving the barbecue area, showing a trail in the dog park area, showing like a place for a trailhead for a future open space going up the hill. They've shown that. They've given us more detail here on the plantings. I know Hector's gone through this pretty thoroughly. He's got some fine detail comments. And I think at this point, we want to keep it more high level, just so we can, if we're good with this, we can get back with the developer and tell them we're good with the concept, and then we can follow up with the more specific comments from Hector, which related to water use and, a little bit on the types of plants and things like that. But from my review of this, he's completed what we asked of him on the first go around. So there's still barbecues in there. There's tables. There's a tot lot. The tot lot, you might want to ask him to do a little bit more there. Would be my suggestion. The tot structure is a little small. I mean, maybe we can get him to agree to something a little bit bigger. But you can see that the parking is out in front. He's specified a wrought iron fence around the dog park, which I thought was pretty nice. So I don't know if you want to just, if anyone has any comments, I mean, we can get back to him and say, conceptually, we like this. And then we're going to work through the details at the staff level in terms of plantings and things like that, if that's acceptable, or however you want to proceed.
Councilmember Cruz, did you have any comments, or you have to take yourself off mute?
Yeah. No, I'm just
But feel free to muse on or off mute. It's up to you.
thinking here in terms of what is the best option. And you mentioned that you and Hector have discussed this some, Kevin?
Yeah, Hector provided some real detailed analysis of the park that, I don't know that we need to get into here necessarily. It's all really good stuff related to the plantings and the drip irrigation and kind of a finer look at it, which again, I would give to the developer along with the comment that we're okay with the layout and the amenities being provided. One of the things I think we're gonna try to ask him is, potentially plumbing in for a future bathroom. We could ask him to put a bathroom in. I don't know. It's kind of a negotiation, but he may be willing to do that. But at the very least, put the plumbing in to make it easier for us later. The vacant one on the right, Hector and I discussed. I mean, I don't know how big it is necessarily, but I don't know if that could be a small community garden for the folks living in the apartments. And again, we could have him plumb in for
Hector
irrigation.
is in the audience and he has his hands up. Do you want to allow him to speak
Oh yeah,
now?
definitely.
Okay.
Oh, thanks, Yvonne.
Uh-huh.
I'm not, I need to put my participant list up and I hadn't done that. Thank you.
Sure. Okay. Hector,
Yvonne's watching out for you, Hector.
you should be able to speak. Oh, you're on mute though. Okay. Looks like you're,
Sorry.
yes.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, Kevin. I didn't mean to interrupt you or anything. I clicked the raise hand just in case you guys wanted me to make a few comments. Kevin pretty much covered most of it. The biggest, I guess, concern is, or thing that we want to make sure is that we create a water smart park, especially with our water situation and the drought. The area that Kevin was mentioning about the proposed, that open area that says park there. Currently, on the plans, it says that it's going to be, grass. It's going to be like a grassy area, and that's why Kevin and I, when we were looking at this together, it'd be a great idea to create a low water usage community garden to get away from all those high usage water rotor sprinklers. So that was one of the ideas. The other thing is, on the street trees that showed grass around the trees, which is, I believe, is unnecessary to have all that grass and have all the irrigation system, and it would look really nice with some, decomposed granite and some low drip system, and it would still look really nice, as well as a dog park. It shows a lot of grass in there and some irrigation, and I think we can find other alternatives to get away from utilizing our water supply as best as we can, and still make it nice and attractive for everybody.
So Hector, I've got a question for you. I mean, I'm kind of surprised to see submissions like that can contain that much grass still. I mean, because these are very seasoned developers and they know what the situation is here. And I mean, I want to say Northern California, but it's pretty much the West. And so, it's my understanding that like the Russian River water wise gardening standards, those are all exactly what you're talking about, which is, more mulch, native plants, drip irrigation, not a lot of sprinklers. So, what's the, I guess, I mean, my deeper question to staff would be like, what's the problem?
Yeah.
What's the breakdown? What's the communication breakdown between? That's kind of what I expect to see in new applications, but they still keep bringing, the grass. So, is it a problem? Do we need to communicate that more? Do we need to communicate that earlier? Do we need to make that more entrenched in our, or maybe more clear in our policy and our expectations? It's just like, so I guess my question is like, because I think I'm hearing that's direction you want to go in, and that's the direction that staff wants to go in. But then a kind of a follow-up question is, how do we make sure that that's really clear what our expectations are with all new development?
Yeah, I think like Kevin and I were saying, this is just a concept map, and I have probably about 25, a list of 25 items that I see with the park, but it has to do with, irrigation systems and irrigation controllers. And so I think the next step would be, and Kevin could be better to discuss this, but the next step is, if everybody, you know, as the next step is where you really go through it and start evaluating the irrigation system and really
Yeah.
pin down what we want, eventually what we want this park to look like and the type of system that we want in there. And I think, you know, Kevin can touch on that, but I think that's the next
Yeah.
step.
I mean, that's all, but that's all in the Russian River water,
Yep.
you know, friendly landscaping guidelines. And so it's like, why aren't we seeing that right off the bat? And it's, you know, kind of secondly, I haven't been to a dog park that is grass that's in California. I mean, if there is one, point me to, I've been to a lot of them. I mean, if
Yeah.
there's a grass dog park in California, show it to me, but it's like, they're all mulch.
Yeah.
So that's my feedback on the plan is, this is great in the Midwest where they get afternoon rain every day, but this is not what we're expecting.
No.
Is that good feedback, Kevin? Does that make sense?
Madam Chair, this is David Kelly. I kind of want to address, you raised an important policy issue, and I just want to kind of discuss that briefly because the staff has been having a number of conversations around the question about turf. I think the answer to your question about, you know, how do we formalize our position on turf, and I think the way we do that is we actually bring forward some park guidelines for council consideration. And you know, I think we're poised to do that in the coming year. Hector is already doing an evaluation of existing turf areas within our parks to determine where strategically we may be able to eliminate some of the turf areas in such a way to reduce irrigation, but not impact recreation. So we want to try to achieve both if we can. So in essence, eliminate turf areas that are there for aesthetic purposes and focus on turf areas that are, you know, necessary for use by sports.
Turf is strictly for practical purposes.
Right.
Soccer, baseball, yeah. You're-
Exactly.
you're-
So we
you're-
want to come back with
You're hearing me. Thank you. I think you're hearing me.
with a proposal identifying areas where in existing parks we would propose to sheet mulch or eliminate turf areas so we could reduce our you know, water use in those park areas. And I think, you know, we want to carry that program forward to the new parks.
Absolutely. And I think it's, you know, and David, just to kind of, and not just because, but because we're asking residents to do it. We're asking businesses to do it.
Oh, absolutely.
And so I think we lead, you know, let's lead by example. So yeah, I think you're really tuned in. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, and the dog park, I think, is an easy one because, you know, there's no reason why we have to rely upon irrigated dog park, you know, surfacing.
It won't last anyway. I'll just guarantee you that.
Dogs know how to use turf.
That's right.
Now, the other area which you may want to chime in on is, you know, this is kind of looking at it from the park design from a big picture, is that corner area where, you know, it's currently identified as turf. So that can be looked at through a couple of ways. It could be considered as an alternative use, much like what Hector shared, you know, could be a community garden, so alternative use, or that it's programmed so that that space is turf that could facilitate certain recreational activities like
Exactly.
Soccer practice, maybe.
Right.
Well, it could be a pickleball court.
Pickleball.
It could be a basketball court. So if we kind of put the choice of amenities there. You know,
Well, it could be volleyball too. I mean, it might actually for sports. I can't remember what the dimensions are on that, but it might actually be a better volleyball court because then it can be sand surrounded by, you know, then it could be also very low water. So there's lots of possibilities there.
And you kind of look at it in the adjacency with the tot lot and then the picnic area and how those areas relate to one another.
I guess I won't be able to practice my spike next to the tot lot. You're right. That's not a good idea. My overhand serve. So Yes, yes.
There's a hand by Dwayne Svensson.
Oh, I'm sorry. There we
Yeah,
go.
Yeah, I was gonna let you know.
Diane, thank you. Yeah, let's
Name
go ahead
over.
and, so is there any other, are any other questions from staff or, and we'll go ahead and open up for public comment unless I see any others. Great, thanks, Yvonne.
Sure, Diane, you're good to go.
Okay, so first of all, I want to say representing the dog park people, we do not want grass.
Yeah.
We want mulch. We want mulch. The only thing we want is a space for, water so we can have water for the dogs, but we don't want grass. But I do have 3 questions. Since it's so small, I can't see it. Where is the dog park located? Since I can't read anything on this at all.
Oh, Diane, yeah, or sorry, Yvonne, can you bring that map back up and then
Sure.
maybe Kevin can point it out?
Okay.
Can you see that, Diane?
Yeah, the dog park is located.
Yeah, see the trail on the left side?
Yeah,
That's it. And then if you look really close, it's really hard to see, but there's a wrought iron fence that goes all around that, larger than the loop trail. So that's kind of, and then there's
and
a-
what's about this approximate area in square feet, square meters, square yards, something?
It's about 12,000 square feet.
Okay, 12,000 square feet. And when approximately is the proposed break ground date on this?
Well, that's a good question. I don't have a great answer for you. This is part of this development that's being phased in. They're pursuing the first part of this project, which is the apartments. So we still need to work through with the developer. My guess is he's going to want to get some more units up and running to help pay for the park, but we can report back on the timing.
Yeah, so we're talking what, 3 to 5 years?
I wouldn't say that long. I'm just guessing right now, but that seems a little too long, but he is working on plans for development of this area, so that would.
Okay,
When will we, maybe a better question, if I may, is when will we know what the timeline is?
yeah, that's good.
I will report back at the next meeting.
Oh, great.
Once
Okay.
I'll submit these comments back, which I'd like to summarize when we're done, and then I'll put it on my list to ask him about timing.
Great. And Diane, you said, I didn't mean to cut you off. Was that 1 or 2 questions you had? You said you had 3.
3, and I got all 3 of them answered.
Oh, great. Okay. So what do you think so far?
Oh, no,
I mean, it's
I
very
think it's
preliminary,
great.
so. Yeah.
No, I know that. I think it's a great, but needless to say, when we get to the dog park further down on the agenda, I will have more comments.
Oh, great. Okay. All right. Well, thanks so much. So Yvonne, are there any other hands raised?
No, I don't.
And now
see any
I've
other
got,
hand.
and I re-put my participants box up there, so I'm paying better attention. So thank you.
Sure.
Okay, Kevin and David, do you have any other points of clarification, or do you think you have pretty good direction at this point?
Maybe I'd like to summarize so I can get back to him and give him the comments. Eliminate the turf and grass. My comment, I think David might agree with me, is the top lot looked a little skimpy. Maybe see if we can get him to do something a little nicer. That little structure was very small. It didn't look good. So that would be one. And then I don't know if it's at this stage in the game, but we would seek for him to provide at least plumbing and electrical and chases so that we can, first position might be to try to get him to, I think we should definitely ask for a water fountain and maybe at least plumb for a bathroom. We can test and see what his appetite is for a bathroom. And those were the comments I was gonna.
Yeah, I think we definitely want to say, plumb for the bathroom at the very least, because I think that if we end up, it's too bad we can't have a full parks master plan yet, because if we kind of are able to fulfill some of the potential that we have, we may want to say that we have kind of like more, in more of the urban parks, we have a few more services like restrooms and, water and, barbecue, picnic, things like that. And we're keeping our open spaces more natural, you know, so that's kind of what I'd like to see here. But it's also, I just want to reiterate, it's so important that we have that water fountain and dog and water at the dog park too. Is
No,
that,
I think we should insist on that for round one, and you know, test his appetite for a bathroom, and if not,
Yeah.
at least get the plumbing.
at least plummet for a bathroom for sure. But there's got to be, yeah, water at the available restaurant, you know, and drinking fountain facility, but it has to be water at the dog park. That just goes without saying. Does that make sense? And then I would kind of, is it appropriate to direct them to the Russian River water landscaping guidelines? Because I think that's pretty in line with, you know, unless Hector has a separate document that we could send, that he wants to send their way, that's kind of the idea. And then, yeah, on a secondary level, we need to address this at a policy level so that it's very clear to developers that that's what we're expecting.
I will send that to him. I mean, they're in Southern California. They may not be aware of it, but
They might not be.
I'll make him aware of it.
I think they're aware of other, they might have some water issues of their own, but yeah, okay. That makes sense. Okay, great. Are we ready to move on? Does that work for everybody? Okay, March is good. All right. So I guess we're moving on to 5C, the citywide complete streets plan.
Yes, Madam Chair, this item was carried over from the last meeting. The progress we've made is that I knew we had, UCLA had put together this complete streets manual that was really designed for cities to adopt portions or all of it. So they really, that was the intent of it, to make it easy for cities. It's included in the packet. It's super long. What David and I were kind of discussing is, you know, where would complete streets be applicable in Cloverdale? And, you know, of course, the Boulevard, Osti Road, Citrus Fair, you know, the main streets. And one approach could be, at least at staff level, and you might have to give us a little time because we're pretty busy, but we could start sifting through this manual and pulling out what makes sense for those parts, for those roads in town. And then as a next step that could possibly, and I do think would be really helpful for us because, example, the Cherry Creek project, you know, we conditioned it for sidewalks, but if we had a street section that was adopted by the council, then we would have something to point to say, it's not just a sidewalk, you're gonna have to put the median strip and this and other things. It's a lot easier if we had an adopted standard that we could point to. So, and then again, on Osti Road, it's the same thing with the Alexander Valley Apartments. This manual is amazing. I went through it again today. You know, it is 10 years old, but I still think it's very applicable. So I would suggest that as an approach for the next step is for us to try to, and there may be parts of Cloverdale Boulevard that will have different designations. I would suspect there would. I mean, downtown is kind of done, but as you flank out from downtown, it'll be a different standard. And as you get further towards, the more rural areas, there might be something different further. But we could, bring back a map and again, go through and try to find what makes sense, at least in our minds, for each area as a first step.
And Madam Chair, if I can just weigh in on this item, I wanted to mention that concurrently we've had a discussion at the Public Works Subcommittee about development of a striping plan for the city. Some of our current existing street striping is in need of a refresh, and it's a good opportunity for us to look at either just simply refreshing some of the existing striping or to modify and adjust some of that striping to kind of support some of the complete streets concepts. We see some of that new striping that was done with our recent street improvement projects namely the Safe Routes to School project, where you have green bike lanes that were installed, and it kind of changes the lane configuration by reducing reducing the travel path through striping and identifying the pedestrian path. And so there's opportunities to do that on many of the other areas of the boulevard and Oxley, of course, and to support and develop better pedestrian improvements. So one thought for this subcommittee is for us to look at this as a planning effort as part of the budget process, where we undergo a kind of a complete streets analysis along with striping plan, kind of combine those two. And I think Kevin pointed to it being kind of staff-driven exercise, but I do think it would be beneficial if we could bring like a transportation consultant to the table, like W-Trans, that could help us come up with specific projects along the boulevard. And in addition to just identifying where we'd like to implement street improvements, also prioritize those improvements and put some preliminary cost estimates to them so that council can start to go through the exercise of prioritizing some of those projects to help us with our bringing projects forward through Sonoma County Transportation Authority for grant funding, and have that all kind of be developed ahead of time so that we're in good position to be able to apply for those grants and be successful. Because we're kind of doing it on an ad hoc basis now, and it's a lot more challenging to do it on an ad hoc basis. And if we had a plan with priorities developed into cost estimates, it takes time, of course, to do that planning effort, but I think it pays off in the long run. So that's just something for this subcommittee's consideration, and I think we'll certainly take this up as part of the budget development process. Is what would it take to develop this a more complete streets plan, identifying the project priorities and kind of cost estimates along with the striping improvements that we can undertake, and look at it more globally or comprehensively.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Cruz, do you have any questions? Yeah, I guess my comment is that yeah, this is a bit of a BMS, but it also looks very, very familiar. I mean, there are definitely pieces of this that you can recognize some of the DNA that's already in some of our planning documents, already in the general plan. So it's clearly the source. This document's clearly the source material for a lot of planning documents that are out there in the world. And so I absolutely support staff moving forward on bringing this and a complete streets plan, because just having served on Sonoma County Transportation Authority, it's one of the things that you learn when you sit on, and you have to be on that board for a while and kind of figure out how does transportation funding work. And it's pretty much the funding goes to whoever's ready sometimes, and who is ever bigger a lot of the time. But I think it's absolutely necessary that we have this plan in place so that when the money does become available, then we're ready to take advantage of it. That's the only way to get those kinds of funds. So I think it's very important that I might look at it as, and I really appreciate the city manager's comments about, well, we already need to redo a lot of the striping. Well, we can either kind of do it on a, catch as catch can basis, or it can really be part of a citywide plan that's like similar to the capital improvement program. It's like we've stated that these are what our needs are, these are our priorities, and as they come up, we're able to fulfill them. Then we already know what we want to do. We don't have to figure out what we want to do. So I really appreciate the approach, and kind of see it as a way to just be, more efficient and more agile when we know infrastructure and road money is going to be coming down from the federal government and hopefully the state as well. So let's get ready for it. Are there any, Yvonne, are there any public members of the public with their hands raised? Oh, you see Eris.
Eris. Eris, you should be able to talk. Take yourself off mute. There you go.
Okay, thanks. Well, this is actually a perfect timing for this conversation because just yesterday, Caltrans, the director just announced that the new policy is all transportation projects funded or overseen by Caltrans must be done with the complete street lens. So this is where the future is going. And that is actually a very big deal that Caltrans just instigated that policy. I haven't had a chance to fully read through the document from LA to see how that compares to some of the other guidance documents that I know that are out there, because I have a couple others. There's NACDO has some, the National Complete Streets Alliance, and I can send you links to some of those other guidelines, because I'm sure they kind of all borrow from each other, but I haven't really looked at them side by side. But what I find the most exciting or inspiring about this is it's actually a paradigm shift that's going to be difficult, I think, for most jurisdictions to get going, because right, public works folks, you're used to thinking about stuff as projects and piece by piece. And okay, well, there's this street, can we do the striping different, to put a bike lane in? But talking about a complete street it's a whole different paradigm. It's basically, our paradigm now is streets are for cars. Well, let's add a few things here and there for other people. But a complete streets paradigm is that the street is for everyone, for kids, for old people, walking, scootering, driving. So it's a whole different way of thinking of how to reconfigure things. So I'm excited that you're looking at jumping on this now, rather than waiting until it's imposed that anything, and because any money that you apply for that comes to the state is going to need to already incorporate this mindset. And so that you're starting to work on it now is really great.
Oh, thank you, Eris. I was not aware of that policy change. So Kevin, do you know how to get in touch with Eris and vice versa?
Through you, I guess.
I can make sure that you guys have each other's email. I can do that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
All right,
Eris@bikesonoma.org.
That's another easy way. Eris@bikesonoma.org. There you go. I think that's a shameless plug, but that's okay. Thanks, Eris. Yeah, any other members of the public who wish to comment on this item?
I don't see any more hands raised.
Great. Thanks, Yvonne.
Mhm.
Okay. So any other direction from Councilmember Cruz?
No, it's just that everybody in council needs to keep in mind that there is a bigger plan and it has to be coordinated rather than using resources that would need to be back on the street at a later time.
Yeah, it's not a one-off world anymore if you want to get funding. Yeah, I wasn't aware of that. Is that a rule change, Kevin, that you're aware of, that if you're going to get money from Caltrans, you got to have a complete streets plan?
I had not heard that yet, but
I think she said it was yesterday, so. Okay, yeah, we'll put you guys in touch. So that alone is motivation to get moving on this. So great, good work. All right, well, with that, unless there's any other discussion, let's move on to 5D, the discussion of an establishment of local farmers market in 2022.
Madam Chair, this is David Kelly, and I'll take up this item, and I definitely want to turn it over to Councilmember Cruz for her input. Councilmember Cruz requested this item that we bring it forward for discussion. Kind of background is that there was previously a downtown market that served our community. It was largely ran by the Point Coffee business owners through volunteers that they employed or that they coordinated with local vendors. Our understanding is that event was impacted because of COVID, of course, but that there was also some kind of legalistic impacts that affected how that market was to be operated. What we see is that there's really two models for farmers market. One is that it's ran under the guidelines of the Department of Agriculture, and that was how our local market here was managed, was under the USDA guidelines. But the alternative method where you see most of the markets in Sonoma County managed is through the California Department of Public Health. California Department of Public Health has fairly stringent requirements as it pertains to farmers markets, and they do want to see those markets be managed by a nonprofit organization that has oversight and responsibility for the vendors. So I think in this case, given there was kind of a direction provided to the previous managers to kind of move in the direction of getting compliance, coming in compliance with California Department of Public Health requirements or county health. And they found that the requirements were fairly stringent because of the need to establish a nonprofit and have the parties involved to support that effort. And so it kind of underlies the reason why we no longer have a market that serves our community downtown. This was agendized to kind of start that conversation around what we might be able to do to enable or support a future development of a farmers market in downtown. So I'll leave it there, Chair, and I'm sure Councilmember Cruz would like to maybe offer her thoughts and perspectives on this topic as well.
Yeah, I have a question, and maybe Councilmember Cruz knows the answer. I mean, I know that there are pretty thriving farmers markets in Healdsburg and Windsor. I'm just wondering, what are the nonprofit sponsors? Are they their local chambers or other nonprofits, or how are those administered?
So in both of those cases, Chair, they are their own nonprofit organizations.
Oh, okay. So they were formed specifically to do a farmers market.
Right. So the
Okay.
farmers market in Healdsburg is the Healdsburg Farmers Market, and
Yeah.
it's the Windsor Farmers Market.
Okay. I've been to either of them, I don't know how many times, and I didn't know that. So
They have in those particular instances, there are existing nonprofit organizations in place to manage the market. With within a designated executive director, and of course there's a mechanism to enable them to raise money, and they generate revenue that helps support the booths. So it's a little bit different model than California, the model allowed for under the auspices of the Ag Department. We could, again, just a broad overview. We could do more research and kind of bring back a discussion on those two models and what it would take. But what we heard again was the interest from the county was to have a move in this nonprofit direction, to have its own kind of certified local farmers market Cloverdale, which requires some organizational development. So that could be, we could work with things with the Cloverdale Chamber of Commerce, possibly the Senior Center, to see if there's some organizational capacity there that we could develop to help support a certified farmers market in Cloverdale.
If I may, Madam Chair.
certainly.
Well, we also had a difficult situation here because the farmers market is on private land. And I don't know what the agreement was. And David, were you able to talk to Marnie or Mike?
I talked to Mike about it. I was able to speak with Mike, and he did indicate that as far as use of the property that was okay. It was more of the logistical issues around actually managing the market and the kind of the staffing constraints that they confronted with COVID. Obviously, their business operations hasn't fully reopened yet, and the amount of time that it would take them to try to manage it through the under the auspices of the agricultural program was just more than he said he was able to be able to dedicate at this time towards managing that market again. So his ask was whether we as a city would be able to support or provide again that organizational capacity to another nonprofit or a local nonprofit to be able to support the market going forward.
Yeah, I think I thank Councilmember Cruz for bringing this forward, and I'd be happy to bring this request to the budget meeting. To what do we need to do to figure out how much we would have to budget to either get it started or figure out what it would take to support it?
Well, first it has to be incorporated, and that's one of the biggest expenses.
Right.
Unless there's somebody who would volunteer doing so.
I guess we'd have to find out too. It's like who would be interested in running it, and then is there interest in incorporating it? And then if so, it's like how much support would there need to be from the city, and would there be support amongst the council to designate funds out of the general fund dollars to pursue it this year? Does that make sense?
It does make sense. One of the things is that it would help with some of the organizations that are working towards food resiliency and food security in town to be part of this, because we already saw that some of the vendors were able to survive COVID thanks to the online shopping and distribution, no contact distribution, which has been incredibly successful. It's a lot of work, and I'm sure that if we went through with something as such, that would have to be taken into account in the event that we would have the same situation. And since we are not out of the pandemic yet, it is a difficult call at this moment. But somehow with the chamber and the senior center and the food pantry, I think it would be worth exploring this, given that this is one of the ways to promote local and downtown businesses. It does bring people to town. And if it could be on Saturday mornings, or if it could be on Tuesday afternoon, whenever, it is definitely an opportunity for us to have some more life in town, which we need. And at the same time, perhaps it would be a way to appeal to some of the local artisans to have a venue to sell their product. I think it's essential to the spirit of a town, and it does bring a lot of people together. It's definitely needed.
All right, I'd say let's bring it to if we could have a staff report that would kind of show what it would take to get it started and how much we're recommending to allocate in next year's budget. I'd be willing to move it forward to council. Are there does that make sense, City Manager Kelly?
Yeah, I think it does. I mean, we may want to bring something back to this subcommittee first, and for kind of review of some of the options, so that we can make sure that we address kind of the perspectives on what it would take to, what are the alternatives for establishing, reestablishing a farmers market, and then bring it to council after we're able to more fully develop kind of what the concept is and the alternatives along with it.
I think that and who would be interested in participating and supporting it. I think that would be very important to know. So just bring it back into this subcommittee in January then. Or whenever our next meeting is. I don't remember. Is it February? February, okay.
Yeah, we haven't finalized the next meeting schedule yet for 2022, but we can certainly research this topic further, bring back some alternatives for review by the planning and sustainability subcommittee, and then bring it forward to council after further review.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm hoping we can reach out to, reach out to the chamber and La Familia Sana and the senior center and just, find out who else, who really might be interested in kind of being the bedrock organizations to help support this and find out what the level of interest is. And then kind of go from there. Great, that sounds good. That sounds great. All right, are there any public comments, Yvonne?
No.
Seeing anybody with their hands raised? Okay, great. Let's move. Are we moving on to item 5E and the Clean California Local Grant Program, which looks like it has a lot of potential for us. Am I wrong?
I don't think you're wrong. It's this is a grant that's currently open, accepting applications until February 1st. I don't think that you don't need a resolution right away, so that would be one thing that we would have to be conscious of on the calendar, but we might be able to squeeze it on the second meeting in January. I think we need to think about what kind of project we would want to go for. This is Caltrans. There's about $300 million available. Each grant not to exceed $5 million. So it's the goals are to reduce the amount of waste and debris in the public right-of-way, pathways, parks, transit centers, and other public spaces. Enhance, rehabilitate, restore, or install measures to beautify and improve public spaces and mitigate urban heat island effect. Enhance public health, cultural connections, and community placemaking by improving public spaces for walking and recreation. Advance equity in underserved communities. So there's a lot there. We have talked about it. I called Healdsburg and see what they were doing. They didn't know yet, but they were interested in applying. So, maybe, I don't know that we'd be, well, I guess we would be able to bring some ideas back to the next subcommittee, but we might, I haven't dived in to see how deep the application is, but I'd like to hear input on what people think on what would be a good project. I mean, I could think of a ton of things, but I'd like to hear what others.
Well, maybe I'm just, pretty simple about these, but I guess first things that came to mind was the First Street underpass and that area, because it's Caltrans right of way because of the overpass, and then it intersects with the smart track and the cemetery, and it's the gateway to the river park from town, and it's ties in Asti Road, where we have a development coming in. So that was kind of that first one kind of came to mind, and then also just Citrus Fair Boulevard at the underpass there. So so I guess I was trying to think of, well, gee, what are the Caltrans, what's the Caltrans jurisdiction in town? And those are just the easy ones, and I'm sure there are other ones. Also, probably Hamburger Ranch area.
Yeah, those are great ideas. I don't know. We should probably take a look at how in-depth the application is if we're going to go for this, and maybe get a start on that, and then potentially bring back something related to those two ideas that you had. But,
three.
Three. I forgot that one.
Sorry.
No. I mean, if that's an acceptable approach, it seems like a really good opportunity for us. So I hate to let it go. Or maybe we can find a grant writer too that can help us out. There's a lot of grants that are coming down, and it's difficult to get them all in. But
Well, I don't know, maybe we should team up, find out who Healdsburg is using and team up with them or something like that.
yeah, I think that's a good idea. Well, I guess if you're okay with it, we'll take a look at the application. We can see how in-depth it is. And then at the same time, we'll try to come up with some ideas for those three locations that you've suggested. And then, if we bring it back to this subcommittee, I think it said the resolution can come after February 1st. So we'll just have to figure out all the timing. Maybe it can't wait till this next planning subcommittee.
Yeah. Well, I think it all comes down to the, the qualifications, and those are, I'm the unpracticed non-staff eye. So, yeah, I guess if you dig into the grant and see, what qualifies you, there could be other places or better candidates. Those are just the ones that I, just with the cursory glance, that those are the areas that seemed like they were qualified, but maybe there are, better opportunities.
Yeah, now that I think about it, we wouldn't be able to bring it back here because it's due February 1st.
It's February
Yeah.
1st, yeah. So I think it needs to move.
Okay. Well, we'll look into it and maybe we'll agendize it. I'll have to talk to David, see how he wants to proceed, but in the meantime, we'll dig into it and see how complicated it is and try to start thinking of projects related to those areas.
Okay, that sounds great. Councilmember Cruz, did you have anything to add? Okay. Are there any comments from the public, Yvonne?
Not at this time.
Not seeing any. Okay, great. All right, let's move on to the housing element update.
Okay, Madam Chair, I'll be quick. We're in the midst of the housing element update. We had a presentation at the Planning Commission, last Planning Commission meeting. Right now we have a survey out that just got completed in English and Spanish that will be on our website. Lots of surveys floating out there. It's a short one though, which I appreciated the consultant. It's only 6 questions. So we're trying to get that out. Their goal is, I think they said 1% of the population of town as a respondent. Also, we're trying to organize a joint meeting in February with the council and planning commission. It probably has to be a part of a regular council meeting. Maybe it's the first item, so we can report back on the survey results and give you an update on how the planning commission, or excuse me, how the housing element is going. If I could just jump ahead since it's related, 6D is the RENA, and we have the RENA final that David sent out the email, but we have 278 units that we're expected to accommodate between now and I think 2031, 74 very low, 43 low, 45 moderate, and 116 above moderate. It does not seem that we should be able to do that. Kind of what's in the pipeline now would make a dent in that. So that's kind of where we are. Look for the survey. We'll be publicizing it the best we can. Our consultant has some ideas on how to get the word out, and hopefully we get a good response, and you'll be hearing from us on the housing element maybe in February for the joint meeting if we can make that happen, or we'll come back with a different time.
That sounds good. Councilmember Cruz?
Yeah, I have a question. Since you mentioned the planning commission joint meeting, has it been budgeted and scheduled for them to attend any of the January meetings with the League of Cities?
We do have a modest budget for the planning commission. Typically, we send them to the Sonoma State one-day planning commissioners training, but we can look into the League of Cities. Maybe that would be more helpful. The Sonoma State one is very convenient, and they typically go to that, and it's fairly reasonable. I think it's $75 or something, and it's really geared towards planning commissioners. But I'll look into the other one and see if we have money.
Well, yeah, the League of Cities has one strictly for planning commissions. And now that we are about to have one in January and it's online, it's quite appropriate. The thing is that people need to be committed to do so.
I'll look into it and see who's interested and see if we have any money.
You know, I think that at some point, either this subcommittee or perhaps you and city manager, we need to start thinking about what are the true requirements of planning commissioners, because the more informed and educated they are in what their job is, the better results and the better analysis will be provided to the city.
Agreed.
I think we would really benefit from supporting sending the planning commissioners to the League of Cities training. It's just so much more in depth. I mean, as a planning commissioner in Cloverdale, I did attend the Sonoma State workshops, and I think that we should continue those. They are very helpful. They're very well run. But there is a foundational aspect to the League of Cities training that I think is superior. So I'd really like to see the planning commissioners encouraged to attend, especially new planning commissioners, to attend the League of Cities planning commissioner training, especially now that it's online. We don't have to send them to Sacramento for it. It's something that they can just say, you're expected to attend the planning, commission training when you're a new planning commissioner. And we might want to say, and ask the league, do you recommend that somebody attend that every year, every 2 years, something like that? And then definitely also, in addition, communicate very clearly that we expect them to make every effort to attend the Sonoma State training as well, because that gives them access to other local planning commissioners, to the professors at Sonoma State, and you get a local perspective as well. So I'd really, like to see us make that, especially since I think Cal Cities is, I think that they're realizing that the online training is here to stay, because for small cities like that, for us to pay for training for, all 5 planning commissioners, and to pay for lodging for 5 planning commissioners, it's expensive. And I know other city council members don't always go to training from small cities because they just can't, they don't have the travel budget. So I think now that training that is so foundational is available, I think it's something that we should really strongly encourage. So I'm hoping that can be we can make that a priority in 2022.
Yeah, thanks for letting me know about that. I'm gonna look into it.
Yeah. Great. So anything else on the housing element update?
Nope, that's it.
We just need to make sure we push that survey out.
Yes, we'll put
Okay.
the survey out. It's we just completed, so I'll have it on the front page of the website, and it'll be in the
Right.
newsletter, and we'll do our normal channels and
Push that out. Great. Okay, great.
And
Right.
Madam Chair, the link to the survey was included in the newsletter for last week.
Yep. So I don't know, people might have been a little distracted by the holidays and such, but we can keep at it till we get a statistically significant response from the public. So I don't see any hands raised in attendees. So we'll go ahead and move on to standing items and an update on 6 Acres Water Company.
yes, we're waiting for a few of the attachments to the exhibit. So we had a little contact last week. It's taking a while, I get that, but we are waiting for the cost estimate and a couple other exhibits from the 6 acres. As soon as we have that, we will have it signed and off to them. And I apologize if I took too much time on that, but we're trying.
And Madam Chair, if I can just offer a few additional points on that. The 6 Acres Committee has been actively working on compiling all the costs associated with both the water and sewer improvements, along with the environmental work, and hiring a project manager. The preliminary cost estimates were submitted to the state for approval, the state agency, acronym CFA. And what we were, or what the pre-annexation agreement calls for is an exhibit referred to as the schedule of costs, which includes all the costs associated with all those aforementioned improvements. So the state was really leading up that process in terms of developing and obtaining cost estimates from various contractors, engineering staff, project managers, to finally have that final cost estimate. And that was a really kind of a critical piece to the pre-annexation agreement, because ultimately the pre-annexation agreement was contingent upon being able to obtain the financing for the both the sewer and water improvements. And so I know it can be perceived as though the city is maybe delaying the agreement, but council did take the action to approve the pre-annexation agreement in a form approved by the city attorney. And that was a critical piece to being able to really have the agreement be finalized. And I had made numerous requests for that exhibit, so that that's the critical piece that we're missing at this point, just to be able to compile it and then or to add it to the existing agreement, draft agreement, to be able to to put all the final signatures on it. So we're not trying to delay this process at all. We just want to ensure, because it is a legal agreement and it is so important to identify all the costs associated with that annexation, to get that exhibit finalized. So we did reach out to the state representative, the representative appointed by the state that is overseeing the process to get that exhibit. Once we have it, we should be in good shape to get that agreement executed. I did try to say, time is of the essence, and so hopefully we will move forward on that. Kind of concurrently, the same group has been working on pre-annexation for the South Cloverdale Reach Water Company, and they had experienced some issues with the management of their system. Namely, there was a very significant water leak, and because of the drought. They spent a lot of time on that and kind of diverted their attention a little bit, because there's a concurrent effort to bring in the South Cloverdale Mutual Water Company. So I think there's kind of a perspective from the state to be able to bring both 6 acres and South Cloverdale in. Unfortunately, they were on kind of 6 acres was a little bit ahead in terms of timing and getting some of the preliminary work done, and they're bringing along South Cloverdale. So we may very well be in the near future talking about South Cloverdale Mutual Water Company as part of a pre-annexation agreement as well. It's a larger area. It's a little more complicated because it involves areas already in the city. But staff again is committing time to that. At no cost to any of those residents to trying to move that forward.
Great, thank you. Any comments, Councilmember Cruz? Okay. Well, moving at the speed of government. Good work, guys. All right. So we'll move on to item 6B, update on dog park locations. What do you have for us? Is this
well, I think it's all of us. I'm hoping Hector's still there, so
I see Hector.
Pulling Hector in on this one, so appreciate that. At the last meeting, we came up with 7 potential sites. We kind of went through each one, talked a little bit about each pros and cons on those. I have a couple things to report on those. The polyclass site that Rafael had brought up and we liked a lot, it's probably a no-go. He did make contact with them a few times through emails and phone calls, and they just aren't interested. So it was a great idea. It was a nice idea, but I think we can cross that one off because they're just not wanting to do it. So Hector and I did go out to both the SMART site south of the train station, which seems very promising, as well as the old landfill site, and we took a look at the glass issue, and Hector has some thoughts about that. My suggestion at this point is that we focus on those 2 as the primary ones. I personally think the SMART one is probably the best one, just from a location standpoint. The parking is already there. There's a little bit of a grade change between the parking lot and the flat area. But other than that, it would be great. One of the issues, of course, is I don't know SMART's appetite for letting us do that. So that's an unknown. And then I'll let Hector talk about what his vision would be if we did try to use the landfill with that glass issue. So at this point, I think our best bet would be to focus on those two, hone in on them a little bit more, keep it on this agenda, and have us come back with some more ideas. I mean, if we get it down to one site, we can maybe get a conceptual kind of concept together, Hector and I and David, and trying to start putting some numbers to it, and just keep moving the ball along that way. Hector, I don't know if you want to share what you were thinking about the landfill and in relation to the
Sure.
ground issue.
So, yeah, just from my construction background, from a construction point of view, both sites, I think they're good locations for a dog park. Evaluating both sides, what we would have to do, whether we go with the smart train depot or the old dumps, you would have to grade the site and add a few inches of road base to create a hard surface and stop. And before that, you would have to add some type of fabric. So if there is any glass or anything under there, it won't come up to the surface. And then you would add a few inches of base gravel on top of that, compact it real good, and then add a few inches of playground certified mulch. The playground certified mulch is the stuff you use on the parks, and it's actually really good. So the puppies don't get any stickers on their paws. So, but both locations are good. Again, the train depot is probably a little bit better just because we have the parking space. And another thing we need to take under consideration, if the smart train really comes through, we would have to maybe go, as far as fencing goes, maybe go a little bit above standards and make the fencing a little bit taller there.
Yeah, and
when, not
I
if.
know we're working on when, Hector. Yeah. So just to add my 2 cents in this. So what kind of complicates the timing of this is that only this past summer did Smart take a control of what till I think I don't remember what month it was. It was the North Coast Rail Authority's right of way. So just past summer, Smart is now actually taking ownership of the tracks, and it's the maintenance and managing the property. So we will have to go hat in hand to the Smart board or Smart staff and make sure that this isn't a use that is, because it's their property. It's Smart property, correct, Kevin?
That's correct.
It's smart agency property.
Yep.
So one of the things, it's actually kind of, the timing is kind of dovetailing very well, because the new general manager of Smart, I think I attended his second meeting last week. So he just started and he handed off. We kind of started this process of talking with Smart when Farhad was on his way out and Eddie was on his way in. And so now that Eddie is kind of is settling in, I've requested a meeting and a tour of, since I sit on that board as well, I requested a meeting and a tour with Eddie of all of the track that Smart and on the properties that Smart has taken management control over. Because I don't even think Eddie hasn't even been here yet. I know Bill Gamble, I'm sure Bill Gamblin has been here, but I know that our new general manager has not even seen our station, not seen any of the track. I'm just gonna go out there on a limb and say I don't think there's any way that he could have possibly had eyes on what he's running north of, from Cloverdale to Healdsburg. So I've requested a meeting and a tour with Eddie and the head planner at Smart, Bill Gamblin, and I want to be able to, invite Supervisor Gore, just to kind of give him an idea of what it is that, what our vision might be, and make sure that it will work with their plans. And I think one of the things that goes directly to the fence Hector is that when the train is here, the requirements for a safety fence are much, it's not gonna be the same fence that's there now. As you can imagine. So yeah, so that's kind of, you know, so that's kind of, I think you're working it on your side. I'm working on it on my side, and hopefully we'll get a positive answer from SMART. And the other thing I'm pushing for on both NCRA, which is turning into the Great River Trail Board, and the SMART Board, is for planning dollars for these station areas and for the trail, to make sure that the cities, all of the cities on the lines are the station and the traffic flow, the pedestrian access, the bicycle access, the recreational uses like parks. It's got to be very well planned and well executed. So, and yeah, Hector, you're a big part of that. So yeah, so that's kind of so it sounds like we need to follow up on this and make sure that that meeting and that tour happens, but we also let them know that we're very interested in this property for our recreational use for residents of Cloverdale. So yeah,
Nice.
yeah, thanks
You
for
have a
doing the
hand.
legwork. Oh, great. And so is that pretty much, so that those are the two that we want to focus on?
I think that would be my recommendation.
And then I have another follow-up question, but I don't want to cut Marta off if she's got anything. I have a follow-up regarding the I don't think we've come up with a better name than the former dump site, but I don't know.
No, go ahead, and I think there's a hand up.
Yeah, but Marta, did you have anything else for Hector? No, okay. And then Hector, my issue with the old dump site has been, it sounds like to me that the SMART site is more turnkey. The dump site's going to need remediation, and that's going to be considerably higher to get us in there. Do you have any, do you have a guess as to, what the cost would be at the old dump site just to remediate it, to get it up to the level that we would want people and animals there?
Yeah, I have I wouldn't, I don't have those numbers with me, but I agree with you. The train depot would be the best location. We threw that, I don't want to call it a dump site either. I want to call it, we threw our property there
right
out there just as a second option.
Yeah.
Because you're right. We would have to do a study and then test the soil and everything. And you would get
find out. It's like, what is it going to cost her? I mean, the tragedy is that it's like, if for anybody who's ever been out there, it is just gorgeous. I mean, there isn't, if there could be a park, I would love for it to be there, but you can't be used until it's remediated. So,
right.
Okay. So any other comments or questions? If not, I'll open it up to the public. Yvonne, go ahead and.
Okay, we've got Diane Simpson.
Go ahead, Diane, whenever you're ready.
Okay,
Oh.
unmute yourself and you'll be
there
able
she
to
is.
speak.
Oh, I saw her disappear from attendees. So I was like, oh no. There we go. How long have we been doing this? I still can't figure it out.
Diane, you're on mute. If you can unmute yourself.
There we go.
There you go. I can hear you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So one of the questions that Kevin, I think you were going to look at something around River Park, like where the water treatment plant is in the area there along the walkway. Did that ever happen?
We talked about that one at the last meeting, and that has a future use related to the water plant. So we kind of dismissed that one based on the master plan for the water facility.
I mean, is there any way along the whole, because only because I walk my dog there all the time, there's a lot of, of space on one side of the walkway all the way along, except for where some people live. And I was just wondering if any of that is feasible.
Well, I think we've mentioned this at plenty of previous meetings. The problem with the property that the area near the water treatment plant is essential for the operation of that facility. So that's out.
Right.
And then the river park was acquired with ag and open space funds, and it is deed restricted. And this is something we went over this and over and over and over on this when Mike McGuire was our supervisor before he was our state senator. And and he was instrumental in making sure that we got the funding for the acquisition of that property. And unfortunately, when the deed was written, it was very specific about no active uses, and the use of dog park wasn't included. And so we're actually restricted by the deed to have a use like that in the river park. So it's not that we don't want to do it, it's that we can't do it. And I think that's, sorry, go ahead.
I said that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's in the deed, you can't change it.
Yeah.
And from the perspective, I agree with you completely, Melanie, that the smart, train is a much better site. Who wants to build a dog park on top of a dump?
On broken glass. I know. And it's such a shame, Diane. I don't know if you've been down there, but it's like, it's gorgeous. And it's just, it
looks beautiful until you walk on it.
Yeah. Until you get a nail in your shoe. So so it's really unfortunate. So I'm going to do my best as a smart board member and as a member of the Great Redwood Trail Board to hopefully get that piece of property for a dog park. And I'm going to do my best. And again, it's not our property, it's not in our hands, but
hopefully we pray and we beg well.
We have to ask our dogs how to beg well.
Right.
I know my dog and Marta's dogs are experts at begging, so I have a good role model. Yeah.
Mine does downward dog super.
Oh yeah, mine too. So that's what I don't want to overpromise because we can. That's just what we're working on. I think we have a good chance.
But we're still out here and we're still, so we just keep scratching at the door.
We're never gonna run out of dog euphemisms. I mean, that's why we love dogs. So okay, so thanks, Diane. So Kevin, I think you have, we're all working together on this, right?
Yeah, we'll hear what you come up with, and I just like that we kind of whittled it down to one or maybe two, just because we talking, it just gives us a little more focus, I think.
Yeah, I'd rather be in the driver's seat, but let's come up with the best plan and the best let's show Eddie a good time when he comes up to Cloverdale. I know that he and his wife, and I mentioned this at a previous meeting, he and his wife came up to Winterfest and they had a great time that Friday. So he is very interested in getting out in the community and finding out what our needs are. And it's going to be a similar situation. If there is a different need for that property that they need for operationally, we will not get it. But if we can work out a deal with them, we're just going to do our best.
That's all you can do.
Yeah. Great. Any need further direction or any other comments? Okay, if not, we'll move on to an update on the community development planning log.
Chair, I'll be quick. We have a special planning commission scheduled for the 11th, where the Alexander Valley Apartments will be back. I've been in contact with them. They've made some changes based on planning commission comments, and I think it's a better project as a result. And hopefully we can move that project through. Also, the development agreement is pretty much done for the wellness center at Times Square. So we're trying to get that on the planning commission in February. So that's a big one. The Baumgartner final map will be before the city council on probably the second, maybe we're shooting for the second meeting in January, but there's a lot of comments back and forth with the engineers. So that's the goal. It may not make it. Just to report a little bit on that, there is a reduction in the number of affordable units from what was approved. So we're going to have to take a look at that and possibly amend some resolutions. It's went down 60 units from basically 160 to 100. And that's the first part that he's trying to get accomplished is the affordable apartments on the southeast corner of the project. Other than that, it's housing element. We're also at the next council meeting, the 1st in January, we're going to have you take a look at the proposed downtown and POD zoning changes that we've been working on with our consultant PlaceWorks that went through Planning Commission last time. I think that's about it. We're really busy. I know there's a lot more, but those are kind of the hot items.
Councilmember Cruz, any questions?
Not at this moment.
Okay. I think we are out of attendees. So we're going to assume there's no public comment. And and we pretty much covered item D, Rena, Kevin.
Yeah, that's correct.
You want to jump down to E, amendment to?
Yeah, I'm going to hand it over to David.
Great.
Madam Chair, the item under item E is a standing item. Staff is more or less ready to bring that back for council reconsideration. The direction was to conduct outreach through Zero Waste. There was outreach to local area businesses. We are very well into it started January 1st in implementing SB 1383, but we're still developing our updated comprehensive ordinance to address those requirements. But the main change, the council had already adopted the ordinance, was to address a specific material that was not compostable, and that was the PUFA containing materials. And that was really just a function of amending our existing ordinance for council's consideration. And I think it's just a matter of rescheduling that as a public hearing and bringing it back for council consideration.
Not seeing a hand from Councilmember Cruz, so that sounds great. We could move forward with that. And item F, Senate Bill 69.
I have no updates on that.
I don't have any updates on it either, and I'm on it. All right, I think we might want to just, let's see. We probably can remove that from standing item at this point.
Okay, thanks.
Great. And do we have any information only memos or updates?
No, we do not.
Okay, and any future agenda items from Councilmember Cruz? Not seeing any. No, I think we're in good shape. And any pending or good of the order?
No on both.
Other than, thank you everybody for a great meeting and great staff work. Yvonne, I want to have a chance to say thank you, and this might be one of our last meetings. I know you're handing over to Jill, so I don't know how we're going to do that, but
we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. But I just want to say thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you
for standing in the gap.
Sure.
The last couple of months, we really appreciate you and your team. And I just want to wish everybody a wonderful holiday and happy New Year, and really good work to staff. You deserve so much credit for all we have accomplished in 2021 under really difficult conditions. So you really should congratulate yourselves and know that you have the heartfelt thanks of the council members and the community for all you're doing under really challenging circumstances. So thank you, all of you, for being leaders and doing a great job for your community. So with that, I will adjourn our meeting to our next scheduled meeting, February 15th, 2022. If ready or not, here we come at 4 p.m.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
Hopefully surviving the citrus fair.
Good luck with the citrus fair.
Yvonne, before you go, you can stop the recording, but before you log off, we're gonna